Last to last week, an Indian airline having market share of 10% suddenly filed for bankruptcy. It was a surprise to its consumers when they saw that there were no routes showing over when they searched online. This was, of course, a big deal. Can you guess which airline am I talking about here? That's Go First, the airline company that filed for the insolvency proceedings with National Company Law Tribunal. Go first came into being in 2005 as Go Air, later christened as Go First, a Mumbai, Maharashtra based ultra low cost Indian airline owned by the famous conglomerate from India, the Wadia Group. The ultra low cost airlines refer to discount carriers or airline that operates with an especially high emphasis on minimizing operating costs and without some of the traditional services and amenities provided in the fare, resulting in lower fares and fewer comforts. To make up for revenue lost in decreased ticket prices, the airline may charge extra fees, such as for carry on baggage. Now, just a year ago, GoFirst was actually planning to offer an IPO, and yet now we are hearing about its voluntary insolvency proceedings. Why? According to airline's official statement, they blame this over the engines imported from a US company called Pratt&Whitney. You see, when a company starts an airline business, they don't manufacture their own fleet of aircrafts or engines. They have to buy or lease the aircraft from two organizations at major, Airbus and Boeing. And for engines that rely upon suppliers like Rolls-Royce, Pratt&Whitney, aka P&W, and few others in the field. After outsourcing them, airlines take responsibility for running the operations profitably by flying profitable routes, check costs, and hiring skilled pilots and staff who come in regularly and do not ditch their work. So you can get the idea. The issue indeed lies with Pratt&Whitney engines. The airline had been doing well for itself over the initial decade of its launch and the further years. But then for the last 5 years, it said has been facing problems with the P&W engines, which got worse in the last couple of years. In the year 2019, the airline had to ground 7% of its fleet in December. Then again, due to the COVID, the industry was already low on revenue and profits. In 2021 again, this percentage reached to 31%, and last year it almost became half. It had to ground 28 of its aircraft due to these problematic engines and incurred a total loss of 108 billion rupees. Security experts said that the engines could shut down midway through the flight or not work properly. Although the engine maker claims that this was because of growing demand of aviation industry and mass production and supply of engines, that they have to do that they have too much pressure because of growing and developing Indian population and airlines trying to get them as much service to fulfill their demand and need to fly places in comparatively very less time. It also said that Wadia Group, the airline's owner, had some internal issues they are dealing with, and the problem is not all their fault. However, this claim fails to prove its reliability, as not just Go Airline or Go First. Few years back, Go First rivaled Indigo Airlines with a total market share of almost 54.6%, also a low cost carrier and based in Gurgaon, Haryana in India, went through the same difficult situation. It had to ground 50% of its fleet in year 2016. Though it was able to deal with the situation, the problem better than Go First due to its larger fleet and deeper pockets, it also allegedly forced the company to compensate for all its losses it faced due to the engines, and instead signed a $20 billion deal with CFM International. Many other airlines face the same issue with the engines. The day the Go First announced of its bankruptcy, it cancelled all its flights and stopped all bookings for a few weeks to come until it finds a way to survive this calamity. The employees, that is few pilots and the lenders, said that they weren't aware of any of this. In fact, before the announcement, the lenders and the executives of Go First had a meeting, but they didn't get slightest clue as something like this was about to happen. Go First hadn't defaulted on any of its dues till April 30, but it cannot pay back its financial creditors as of now. It has no financial resources left, and the amount it owes to the banks amount to 6,000 crore rupees, and the 1,300 crore rupees it owes to the government. By because during COVID, government introduced a scheme called Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme to promote companies and let banks lend them the capital without fear, as the government would take care of it if the company somehow defaults, overpaying the amount back. After all this, Go First cannot remain silent and watch its doom. It has been fighting P&W in the court, and the engine maker was supposed to supply 10 of its serviceable spare leased engines till 27 April 2023, which it didn't comply with. Later, when asked about the same, it said it was complying with the March 2023 arbitration ruling and it cannot comment further as this is now a matter of litigation. The other option through which it can get out of this whirlwind situation would be the owners, cooperation, and support. The Wadia Group has already pumped 32 billion rupees in the past 3 years, and 75% of that in the year before that. But will they do it again? It's not guarantees. As there were rumors of how they are thinking of selling their stake away and walk away. Whether it's true or not, people are not sure. Coming to if the airline is taken over by some other business owners or conglomerate, in case they would be naive enough, it's not ensured that it will make the condition any better unless it gets its 8,000 crore rupees back from Pratt&Whitney. Similar to what is happening with Jet Airways, which after being taken over isn't doing any better, exceptionally well or near to it. But one thing is sure to happen, which is consumers would have to pay more for their airfare since the competition will be fairly down for Go First after Go First goes downhill, and it could benefit other airlines like Indigo and Tata's merger of Air India and Vistara. Whatever happens, it's a pretty sad state of affairs. The collapse will also affect its 5,000 odd staff and would disrupt the schedules of roughly 40,000 passengers who flew its domestic routes daily. So, yeah, that's pretty much the explanation of what is happening and going to happen further with Go First Airline. Thanks.